A new force is shaking Morocco. It is young, digital, and demanding change. This is the story of Gen Z 212. The name itself tells a story. Gen Z refers to the generation born in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The number 212 is Morocco's international telephone code. It is a symbol of their national identity, reclaimed for a digital age. This movement was not born in a political party office. It was born on the screens of smartphones. It started with a simple hashtag, a shared video, a collective feeling that things had to change. These young Moroccans are not asking for the impossible. They are asking for the basics. The digital anger soon spilled over into the physical world. The transition from online posts to street protests was swift and powerful. Scheduled days of rage announced on social media quickly grew into spontaneous gatherings. Young people, many still in their teens, started to congregate in public squares. They gathered in front of government buildings in major cities like Casablanca, Rabat, Marrakesh. Their first steps onto the streets were tentative. As their numbers grew, so did their confidence. They held cardboard signs with slogans written in Daria. The same slogans had been trending online, a seamless link. The protests spread like wildfire across the country. Not just big cosmopolitan cities, smaller towns, marginalized regions, in Al-Hokeima, in Zagora. Young people spoke of regional neglect and lack of investment. Gen Z 212 gave them a national platform. The internet had connected them. They weren't alone. At the heart of the Gen Z 212 movement is a profound sense of injustice. The protesters' demands are not abstract political ideals. They are born from the harsh realities of their everyday lives. Healthcare is a major source of anger. Young Moroccans share stories of taking sick family members to public hospitals, only to find a lack of beds, basic medicine, or even doctors. They see a system where those with money can get excellent care in private clinics, while the poor are left to suffer. This two-tiered system feels like a betrayal. They believe that a person's health should not depend on their wealth. Education is another battleground. Classrooms are overcrowded. Teachers are underpaid and demoralized. The curriculum does not prepare them for the modern job market. Many graduate from university with degrees that are practically worthless. My diploma is not a decoration. French and Arabic. This creates a deep sense of hopelessness. The Gen Z 212 movement is an attempt to break this vicious cycle. The Moroccan government's response to the Gen Z 212 protests has been a mix of hard and soft tactics. At first there was just this official silence, State-run media pretty much ignored the demonstrations, hoping perhaps that the movement would just kind of fizzle out on its own. But as the protests grew larger and more organized, that strategy just couldn't hold up anymore. So, the government shifted its public messaging. Officials started to acknowledge what they called the legitimate frustrations of the youth. They promised new programs for job creation and reforms in education and healthcare. Still, these promises were met with a lot of skepticism by many protesters, since, honestly, they'd heard similar pledges before. On the ground, though, the response from security forces was way less gentle. While some protests were allowed to go ahead without interference, many others faced a heavy police presence. Riot police, known as the CMI, were deployed in large numbers. They used batons, tear gas, and water cannons to break up gatherings. Hundreds of protesters were arrested across the country, sending a message that there are red lines that just can't be crossed. The state was willing to tolerate some dissent, but it definitely wasn't going to allow the protests to challenge its fundamental authority or disrupt public order on a large scale. The Gen Z 212 movement places Morocco at a really critical juncture. These protests are more than just a fleeting expression of youthful anger. They represent a fundamental shift in how a new generation engages with politics and power. Unlike the Arab Spring protests of 2011, this movement is digitally native and socially driven. It shares similarities with other global youth movements, from the climate strikes in Europe to the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. Young people everywhere are using the same digital tools to bypass traditional power structures and demand a seat at the table. They're connected, informed, and, honestly, pretty impatient for a future that seems to be slipping away. The long-term impact on Morocco's future could be, well, really profound. The government faces a difficult choice.